Hi guys, so just that you know, we're not to call Boris Johnson a liar. Remember that. Don't call him a liar, because doing so may actually convince people that he is one. And if people think that Boris Johnson is a liar, they may stop trusting him. We can't have that. People are supposed to believe Boris Johnson and vote for him, even though he is untrustworthy. Do you understand now? Ignore the fact that he lies and just trust him and vote for him and his party, okay? Well, that seems to be what Tory MP Nicki Aiken wants you to believe. This is her challenging Dawn Butler, who some weeks ago called the Prime Minister a liar and was punished for it by being suspended from the House of Commons.
No senior politician or any politician, whether it's a councillor, an MP, a minister, a shadow minister, should be using language that could be used against other people.
Is it important to tell the truth?
It's always important to tell the truth, Dawn, but there's a way of saying it.
What way?
There's a huge difference between debate and discourse and abuse.
Tell me the way to say it that's going to ensure that the Prime Minister and the ministers come to Parliament and tell the truth.
I think they do.
Okay, the question was not tell me if they tell the truth. No, the question was tell me how we're supposed to hold them to account if they tell lies. And then her response is, yes, they tell the truth. Boris Johnson, and I don't think I'm going out on a limb here, Boris Johnson, I'm pretty sure, lies on every occasion he's in the House of Commons. It's not a case of he bends the truth from time to time. I'm pretty sure on every frigging occasion he's in the House of Commons, he lies. Now, there's a difference between lying and misleading Parliament unintentionally. You know, a minister or the Prime Minister himself can stand up in the House of Commons and say something, respond to a question or deliver some speech, and in it there is inaccurate information. Now, the rules of the House of Commons is that if you mislead Parliament, you're supposed to return to the House of Commons and correct the record. Boris Johnson does not do that. So either he doesn't care about the truth or he's intentionally misleading Parliament. But he does it on numerous occasions. I think almost every time he's in the House of Commons.
Of course they do.
But they don't. It's been proven that they don't.
But if you keep on using that type of language that you've done already, it filters down into the public, and that's where we get that's when we get people thinking that they can't trust politicians.
So the problem here is not the fact that Boris Johnson and ministers lie. The problem is that people point it out. So what Nicki would like people to do is, members of Parliament, in particular Dawn Butler, is to keep quiet. Stop pointing out that Boris Johnson is a liar, because unfortunately the public cop on to this and they eventually punish us. So if you just keep your mouth shut, when Boris Johnson lies, just let him lie, and then everyone's happy. Apart from the people who get lied to. Apart from the public who are suffering the consequences of those lies. You know, people who voted for Boris Johnson because he presented them with a manifesto that was a pile of lies. And Nicki's response to this is stop pointing out the truth. Stop criticizing the Prime Minister for lying, because unfortunately the public start to become cynical. And we don't want that. We want the public to be ignorant. We want the public to just go along with the flow, and we want the public to vote for us like they did in 2019. But just another point here is that Boris Johnson has a long history of lying.
Full stop. And you and I came into politics to make a difference, to improve the communities that we represent, and they expect us to do it properly and to do it.
It's important to tell the truth, and the ministerial code says if a minister has not told the truth, they're supposed to come back to the House at the earliest opportunity and correct the record. 2 weeks ago, a health minister came to the chamber, and to be fair to her, I think she was just given a dud script, right? And so she read from the script. There were inaccuracies in that script. I've written to her and asked her to come back to the House and correct the record. She hasn't done.
Why can't you do that without calling someone a liar?
I didn't.
Is that a stupid question, or is that a rhetorical question by this member of the BBC, from this journalist at the BBC? Why can't you do it without calling them a liar? If somebody misleads Parliament, what are you supposed to call them? Once again, they're supposed to return to the House of Commons to correct the record. If they don't do that, then what the hell do we call them?
Call her a liar.
No,
I wrote to her, and she has not come back to the House to correct the record. And at the end of the day, she's called into question the National Audit Office, where the minister's saying the National Audit Office have approved all of the procurement contracts that the government issued, and the National Audit Office hasn't done that. So I'm using all of the levers that I can to try and get these ministers to tell the truth. What I need is members of Parliament to encourage your ministers and to encourage the Prime Minister to tell the truth.
Nicki, do you think Boris Johnson has sort of got a reputation for riding roughshod over the way to behave himself, perhaps, in the House of Commons, which has prompted the sorts of reaction we've heard from Dawn Butler?
No, I think we've got to keep at the back of our minds the fact that this government is dealing with a once-in-a-100-year pandemic, and they are doing all it can to ensure that we are safe and that we've got the booster programme. So, I do not believe that the Prime Minister or any minister does anything that that brings the House into dispute. I just don't.
So her argument here is, look, we're in the middle of a pandemic. The worst pandemic for 100 years. So that's the reason Boris Johnson is lying. Okay, but Boris Johnson lied during Brexit. Is that an excuse as well? Boris Johnson lied when he was Mayor of London, when he was an MP. When he wrote for a newspaper, he lied. So at what stage do we say, now it's time, Boris, to tell the truth? You've lied while you worked for a newspaper, when you were Mayor of London, when you're an MP, when you during Brexit, and now there's a pandemic. Well, we let you off the hook here as well. Is it when there's an asteroid coming to destroy the Earth, then Boris Johnson must tell the truth, or what is the criteria? This is insane. Look, this is about convincing the public to ignore reality. Really, that's what it's about. Boris Johnson is a liar. We all know that. He has a long track record of lying. And instead of pointing it out and trying to fix it and trying to create a parliament that at least tries to tell the truth. Look, there are mechanisms, okay? If ministers tell lies or if they mislead Parliament unintentionally, there should be greater powers for Parliament to bring these people back and get them to correct the record. What's wrong with that? Why shouldn't Boris Johnson come back and correct the record? Now, maybe Nicki thinks it's not necessary to correct the record because there's a pandemic. But as we've seen before, Boris Johnson lies about things that are unrelated to the pandemic. So he should be telling the truth. If he can't tell the truth, then he shouldn't be there. What's wrong with that? We wouldn't want anyone else lying in their profession. We would want people to be honest, or as close as possible to being honest. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot. I want to say a big thank you to all of my patrons. You ensure that this channel continues to exist. I'm eternally grateful for all of your support. If you join Patreon, you will receive instant access to our Discord server, where we have both audio and video chats. You can chat with me and other patrons, where we discuss important and non-important issues. Becoming a patron per month costs about the same as a large coffee, so why not check it out?